AI. Should we
Mhm,
invest in it? How do we use it? How
mhm.
should we use it? What are your thoughts on that, AJ?
Well, okay, and this is spurred. I had a great conversation with somebody yesterday. They called me, and it's interesting. We run our school here, and if the folks in our customer support, customer success department are all on the line, then we have it so that the calls come to my desk, and so I love answering these phone calls, and I got to talk to somebody who's been a follow of ours for a while. It actually was, a son of somebody who bought my course, my home study course, probably close to 10 or 15 years ago, and it was interesting because sometimes you wonder if people who buy your course actually even take it out of the packaging. Let alone watch the videos and go through the workbooks. But this son had gone through his father's course so much, he was almost quoting me from 10 or 15 years ago. And I remember saying that stuff. And it was like very humbling to hear somebody who was such a fan of my material. But with that said, we talked for like a good half an hour about different investing strategies and where he should go with premium selling and should he get into some swing trading and all of that good stuff. But he actually brought up right at the end of our conversation, he's like, listen, there's this artificial intelligence stuff coming down the line. I keep seeing it all over Facebook. And should I be investing in those companies and should I be using it? And we've been talking about it, like you mentioned. You and I have been talking about AI like nonstop. So, couple of thoughts. First of all, there's some big players involved, right? Microsoft has, really courted OpenAI and their Chat GPT. In fact, they've incorporated Chat GPT into variations of Bing now. And then just last week, Google released Google Bard, and Google Bard is Google's version, and now Bard is going to be part of Google Search. It seems that's the kind of the news from this past week. We keep hearing about Mark Zuckerberg, looking at an AI that might be part of his whole metaverse strategy, and so that's been in all the headlines. Is when is Mark going to release his AI? I think there's been some beta releases, and his wasn't as ready for prime time, and they pulled back on it. And then, of course, Elon Musk, who was one of the founders behind OpenAI, and now seems to have a little skirmish with those folks, has his own Tesla variation of AI, and we're wondering about that. And then there's all these little companies that are either coming up with their own type of language learning model, or they're using one of the big ones in a specific way. So I mean, when it comes right now, there's a lot of hype. And I pointed this out to the person who called me. I mean, if it's being talked about on Facebook, um, you know, that means that there's a lot of emotion behind it and not a lot of substance behind it. I mean, that's generally what I find in my personal experience happens when conversations happen on Facebook. There's a lot of emotion behind opinions, but usually there's very little substance. And so I personally am not investing in anything that's all about hype because you might as well just take your money down to the casinos, right? To the slots. Go to Vegas, go to Atlantic City, go to Macau, go to your local Indian reservation, whatever is going on, American Indian reservation, Native American. I'm so unpolitically correct. I apologize. So with that said, you know, it's something I'm not ready to invest in unless it's one of the bigger companies who's pursuing this, a Microsoft, a Google, who have a diversified strategy to begin with. As far as using it, oh my gosh, the opportunities are endless, right? And you and I were talking earlier this week about Bard. OpenAI has traditionally not been connected much to the internet, and so it doesn't have access to the most
Well, you have to
um,
pay for it. It's a premium feature, yeah.
premium feature. It's a plugin. It's a pro version. Whereas this Bard, I mean, that's kind of Google's forte is search and being connected to the internet. So I've already seen a couple of prompts being used. There was an article in Bloomberg about prompting the various AIs to help you in your stock and stock screening. Um, my knee-jerk reaction right now is these models are brand new. I mean, OpenAI, ChatGPT was just released last November, and I feel like they have some learning to do. Even though they're exponentially learning and ChatGPT 4 is beating people at the bar exam and beating people at becoming medical doctors, um, I almost feel like stock picking is, there is that component of it being an art. So I like the idea of using these things as part of your strategy. And we're actually here at Trading Trainer trying to figure out how we can come up with the best prompts to get the most useful output from these guys. But I urge everybody to double and triple check everything and not trust blindly right now these AIs. Um, make sure you take that watch list they give, make sure you give, the analysis that they give and do your due diligence. Always do your due diligence. Just like I say, check your gurus. I want you to check me, make sure I know what I'm talking about. Check your financial advisors, make sure they know what they're talking about. Because when it really comes down to it, you have to take responsibility for your actions. You're not going to be able to get very far blaming an AI for losing all your money. So make sure you're using these tools responsibly. That's my knee jerk reaction.